What is up, guys? We just reviewed the Black Christmas 2019 remake. Thank God we got that out of our system. Now we're going to review the other two Black Christmas movies, starting with 2006, which I think you need to hear me out on this one. So I give you Black Christmas 2006 Revisited. Let's go.
He's home.
Black Christmas, or Black Xmas, stars Katie Cassidy, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Andrea Martin, and is directed by Glenn Morgan. What's up, guys? Welcome to Black Xmas Revisited. I'm just going to call it Black Xmas because that's what we lovingly call it, even though if you look on IMDb and a lot of other places, it says Black Christmas. And I guess before we get into this, let me show off this amazing 3-disc collection. My good friend Rick sent me this. I don't know if he wants me to say his last name, so I won't, but it's a custom. I believe based off of the German edition that has 3 versions of the movie, the European version, which I believe has a completely different hospital sequence. I haven't watched the European version yet, but then you got the unrated and the theatrical. It is glorious, though. Like, wow. And I do have the Canadian version as well that I bought when it I think when it first came out. I think I paid like $10 for the Canadian version. But cat's out of the bag. I absolutely adore Black Xmas. I always have. I love the crazy, zany, psychotic nature of the movie. This movie just doesn't hold back. And I might compare it to the newer version and what it does right, because that movie felt like it did everything wrong. And it was like exhausting how much wrong that movie did. Whereas this one, it's a love letter to the original Black Christmas. It's all about Billy. It's all about great characters, these sorority sisters that live in this sorority house. And it doesn't get bogged down by any kind of messaging that it wants to portray. Thank God this movie came out when it did, I guess, because, wow, the 2019 version, how in the hell that movie got greenlit is beyond me. But I think one thing that the 2019 version did do is that it created a whole new respect and even fan base for the 2006 version. A lot of people decided to go back and wash the nasty taste out of their mouth and revisit this 2006 version. And I think a lot of them realized, wait, this is actually a pretty damn good slasher movie. And I think back then when it came out, couple of things hurt it. It came out on Christmas Day and it bombed royally at the box office. It's so different, I think, in tone than the original that it was sort of off-putting by people. And this was during the middle of the remake craze. And I think at the time, people were judging them a lot more harshly back then than they are lovingly now. I think we look back on a lot of those mid-2000s remakes, and we do kind of rejoice and maybe look at them with a softer lens than we did back then. I mean, hell, even I have been pretty hard on like the Friday the 13th remake, but I must admit, I actually have a soft spot for the movie now. It does have that mid-2000s flavor, much like this movie does. And yes, this is a revisited. I did an original review, and I think it was around like 8 minutes long, and this was way back, maybe 8-9 years ago that I reviewed the original, not the original Black Christmas, but the 2006 Black Xmas. There's a lot more that I could dive into, and it's good to kind of look at it now after the 2019 version has come out. I gave this a fresh watch the other night and had a freaking blast with the movie. Love it even more, and looking forward to diving into this one. So this movie opens up in Clark Sanitarium. You have I guess the worst of the worst, the most dangerous inmates. They're psychotic, and they're all being given like Christmas cookies and whatnot. You know, this is Christmas Eve, I believe. And right away, we are greeted with just this blast of Christmas lighting that is prevalent throughout the entirety of the movie. That's one thing I do love about Black Xmas is, if you want a movie that just has great Christmas atmosphere with a little bit of a horror edge to the lighting, this movie definitely does it. But yeah, we're in this Clark Sanitarium, Clark being intentionally named to honor the great Bob Clark. And Billy's not to be trusted. There is this Santa Claus guy walking through handing out these treats. So Billy kills the security guard. He's able to break out by putting a milk carton between the door. And then he kills the guy in the Santa Claus outfit. So for a brief moment, Billy, the original Billy, is wearing a Santa Claus outfit. This is obviously an homage to Silent Night, Deadly Night, which, by the way, just this morning I dropped the review for Silent Night, Deadly Night, the remake 2025. So kind of setting a timestamp for this video. But yeah, that's kind of cool that an IP that predates Silent Night, Deadly Night would pay some honor to Billy the character in Silent Night, Deadly Night. I love that about this, you know? And so after Billy breaks out, the premise of this entire movie is this group of sorority sisters. They are stuck in this house, which used to be the house that Billy grew up in like the early 70s. And they are snowed in. They can't get out. And unfortunately for them, Billy has escaped the sanitarium and he ends up at the sorority house in the attic.
Billy? What have you done? What have you done? Where's Agnes?
Now, what's different about this movie than the original is that it has Agnes as a character. Billy mentions the name Agnes in the original, but you never see Agnes. In this movie, Agnes, she does more killing than Billy does, I believe. And I think Agnes is the character that kind of threw a lot of people off about this movie initially, especially hardcore Black Christmas fans. And I'll even admit, when I first watched this movie, Agnes was my biggest problem with it. And also, if you watch the behind the scenes, Agnes is actually played by this like muscle-bound dude. And it's obvious when you're watching the movie too. You can tell that's a dude, that's not a girl. But throughout the years, I have grown quite fond of Agnes as a character. And it's kind of fun when watching this movie because you have two killers in the house and you don't know which one is going to attack next, which is kind of fun. And I think they both have different techniques, different styles, I guess, in terms of the way they attack their victims. But the really screwed up thing about this is that Billy is Agnes's brother and father. Let's go into, I guess, the flashback sequence, the backstory of Billy that is covered in this movie. Bob Clark actually came up with this idea, if I remember correctly. He had Billy's whole backstory in his mind, but a lot of that stuff he never presented in the original movie. But he always stated that if he ever went and did another Black Christmas movie, that he would explore Billy's past a lot more. So this kind of meets that demand by putting it in a remake, but actually showing Billy's backstory. And I think this is the better way to do it instead of doing a prequel movie, because you really could have. And I think this movie is ambitious and it accomplishes a lot in what it's doing. And I actually love the backstory portion of the movie. It's kind of sprinkled throughout. It's not covered in just one section. But, it shows when Billy was born and he had this like liver disease, and that's why he had the yellow skin. His mother is a horrible mother. She goes from guy to guy. She literally kills Billy's father early on in the movie. And eventually she sleeps with Billy, her son. And so that's where Agnes is born. Can you imagine such a screwed up childhood? So I think this movie gives you that option. If you want the more mysterious movie where you don't really know too much about Billy, but you're creeped out by him, then you watch the original movie. It doesn't even show his face. This is the movie where if you want to see his really screwed up backstory, then it's all here. All the way down to him baking Christmas cookies out of the skin from his mother's back. You heard that right. It's crazy. And they show it all. This movie's violent as hell. I love that about it. And if you're not into like eyeball kills, or eyeball carnage, then this is not the movie for you, because there's tons of it. You remember in the original when Billy attacked Claire and he put the plastic bag over her head? Agnes seems to do that so much throughout this movie. And every time Agnes kills someone in the movie with the bag, he will, gouge their eye and pull their eyeball out. And he has this catchphrase that he says throughout the movie. Every time he kills somebody, or she, I say he because the real guy that played the character is a he, but she, every time she kills somebody, She says, "You're my family now," or "He's my family now."
You're my family now.
Meaning they're dead, pretty much. Really sick and sadistic. Now let's talk about the awesome cast of this movie. I gotta say, if you were to ask me, pick your millennium slasher that has the best pound for pound star-studded cast, it would be this movie by far. You got Michelle Trachtenberg, you got Mary Elizabeth Winstead, you got Katie Cassidy, Lacey Shea Bear from Party of Five, and they all get little moments to shine. They're not just blank slates like a lot of these millennium slashers can do. Yeah, you're not going to get a full profile on them, but at least you get an idea of who they are. The very first victim in the movie, she goes missing, and then, so her sister comes and she's trying to figure out what's going on, what happened to my sister. And her sister is Lee, who's actually played by Glenn Morgan's wife. You have Andrea Martin playing the house mother who was in the original Black Christmas. It's really nice to have her in the movie. And there's a cool moment in the movie too where they're getting presents ready and they're opening presents, and there's a present from Billy. It's from Billy, so there's it's just a creepy scene. But ultimately, each one of these characters, they are taken out violently one by one, and you actually care. Just about every single time they are taken out, there's a little story going on with them. Katie Cassidy plays Kelly. She's got this boyfriend, Kyle, played by Oliver Hudson, who is cheating on her, and he videotaped himself having sex with one of the other sorority sisters. So he's kind of the shady character throughout, and there's kind of a funny moment where they kind of have it out in the hallway, and then he's walking away and he's like, "Fuck you bitches."
Yeah, Merry Christmas, asshole.
Fuck all you bitches.
But he's sort of our conduit into, the past and telling the other characters about, him living in that town and knowing about Billy and all the horrible things that happened in that house. You got this other character who turns up sick. And so there's like an iconic scene where she's like in the shower, and you got the tile on the floor comes loose, and then Billy looking at her through the peephole from the floor. Because that's an iconic scene from the original as well, Billy looking through the wall. So really, you get a lot of those little details from the original movie, those iconic details that are just irresistible. This movie constantly tells the viewer that, hey, we are massive fans of Black Christmas. Glenn Morgan has stated that Black Christmas is so important to him, and he wanted to make sure that this movie honored the original, and I think he does it in spades without copying it. He's making it his own thing. It's kind of a tragedy here because this movie bombed, and Glenn Morgan, he put so much of his self into this movie, so much passion, and he was really hurt, kind of like John Carpenter was with The Thing bombing. And he stated, "I don't ever want to do this again." So he never directed a movie again. And I wish to God, Glenn Morgan, if by chance Glenn Morgan saw this review, I would beg you, sir, your work is so appreciated by the horror community, especially today. And this movie never, ever dies. It constantly lives on because of the phenomenal work you did in this movie. So Glenn Morgan, we need you to come back. We just do. Now, the last act goes really haywire in Black Xmas. It's all in the house. And what I like about this house is that it has all this space between the walls where Billy and Agnes, they kind of live. And they don't just live in the attic. They like crawl through the walls. So there's this like big showdown between Lee and Kelly and then Billy and Agnes. And a lot of screaming. A lot of screaming. I don't think anybody screams as well as Katie Cassidy. She's just a freaking natural.
He's my family now.
And this was a time frame where Katie Cassidy was firing on all cylinders as far as I'm concerned. I think she steals the show in the Nightmare remake. I think she is really great in this movie. Very easy on the eyes. I think she was the perfect final girl material for back then. And I wish she would have gotten a role that really just catapulted her, because everybody loves Katie Cassidy. And I think this is the movie that she might shine the most. Now, this movie came out a few years before Scream 4. And remember at the end of Scream 4, there's this big like hospital showdown. It's almost like a second final act. I wonder if they were inspired by this movie because this has a second final act in the hospital. And maybe this isn't the first movie to do that, but it's definitely one of the more memorable ones because, you know, it's a fun avenue to explore. You think you're safe. You think you've gotten the evil behind you, but then they end up at the hospital, and then there's just another showdown that they have to have, and you're battle damaged at the time. But it's a great showdown, and I think fittingly, Billy ends up getting impaled through the back with a Christmas tree. Glorious. But yeah, guys, I absolutely love Black Xmas so much. I love the constant fanfare that it gets. It seems like every year it gets more and more popular, especially around this time of year. And I'm always happy to talk about it. And I'm glad that I was able to get a chance to do a revisited. For a rating, I'm giving this a freaking trapped on a 9. And I've seen some people state that they prefer this one over the original. I don't agree, but I understand where they're coming from because of how different it is. And if you want the movie that just goes balls to the wall, then this is your movie. And I think this is a movie for the fans. So that is my revisited review for Black Christmas 2006. Stay tuned. I'm going to be doing a revisited for the original. Looking forward to doing that one. I have so much on my plate this month. I'm doing so many freaking rankings, covering a lot of Christmas content, Christmas horror, doing a ranking for Silent Night, Deadly Night. Just so much coming. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope I earned your subscription by the end of this video. Trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2026. I need your help. We can do it together, people. Come on. Be a part of something. Also, be sure to subscribe to my second channel, Drumdums Xtra, where I have my live stream clips, unboxings, and all kinds of crazy stuff over there. Come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do FIFA Fridays. Follow my Drumdums on my social support, my Patreon, become a channel member. Buy me a coffee, and you guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Drumdums.